Good evening and welcome to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is Trey Graham and Coach Matt Nally joining you from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. We gather here every Monday evening and record our weekly program at 5:30 p.m. before our live studio audience. You can hear them in the background. Make sure you subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube so you are alerted whenever a new episode releases. Coach Matt Nally, how does 3-2 sound?
A lot better than 0-2.
A lot better than 0-2. Exactly right. Can
really
you
good, really
believe halfway through the regular season it's already over?
You know, on the way to Terrell the other night, I kind of made a joke, but it was kind of, true. And we were talking about how the season's just flying by. And it's almost like that movie Groundhog Day. You know, the guy just wakes up and it's like, and I said, guys, it's like Friday happens and we wake up and it's Friday again. You know, it's just boom, boom, boom. But, normally that's how it goes.
So talk about that. 0-2, just like a year ago.
Right.
Won 11 in a row after that last year.
Right.
3 in a row so far. Is this a pattern you are trying to develop here?
I sure hope not. I think it's just, everything that within the program is based off of, kids execute, kids win games. Coaches, assistant coaches win games. I lose games. So those first 2 games, that's on me. And I like to do different things within the season to put the team in an adverse situation so the team can grow. And not just that, there's a lot of scheme, there's a lot of personnel issues and whatnot that you have to evaluate, and that's why the pre-district is so important. So for me, I'm a big, I have to see things. I can't, someone can say, well, this is good and this is good, well, this isn't good. Well, I need to see it. So we talk about dumping the Gatorade bucket. When we get into the summer and fall camp, we're starting to dump the Gatorade bucket, and then you realize through pre-district what you can and cannot do. And once again, that's just me. That's just my personality. I got to see it and see what we can and cannot do. So I think that is a thing that is a good thing, because I think if you see it early, because a lot of people will mask those issues because of a win. And for me personally, winning or losing, self-scouting is the best thing that I think that a coaching staff can do. So for us, we had a coaches meeting today. What is your goal for the bye week? What are you good at and can be great at? What are you not so good at, and what do you need to be good at? So I just think that's an opportunity for growth. But once again, the kids have done an amazing job. The coordinators and assistant coaches have done an amazing job, and that's the reason why we've won 3 in a row.
So we always talk about penalties, because unfortunately you guys are really good at getting them.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, we're good at it.
Like this past week, 11 penalties,
Yeah.
101 yards. So how do everybody says we got to clean that up.
Right.
There's your phrase.
Right.
What does that mean?
Well, first off, let me answer that question like this. So it's just like when people are talking about the Bible. Everyone has their own interpretation of different verses and things like that. So it's just like that in the officiating world. Everyone has their own interpretation of what that rule really means. So we go to Caleb Otluski's.
So holding is not always holding?
Well, if you think about it, in the game of football, there's holding on every play.
Right.
Every single play.
Right.
But Caleb Otluski got a face mask. And he had grabbed the back of the helmet. The kid dipped down, he grabbed the back of the helmet and tore his helmet off. Well, they said face mask. Well, the rule states grasping the face mask, and he was like, well, he grabbed his helmet. And I'm like, it's not his face mask. So yeah, there's different interpretations, just like on kickoff. We got a penalty on kickoff, and we were running our contain guy, and they're like, well, when he takes off, that now puts 3 men on the line of scrimmage. And you're like, that's
on
not
one side of the ball.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's their interpretation of that rule. And, we haven't been called for that all season, but that is that interpretation with that crew.
Okay, but there are some real legitimate penalties.
Absolutely.
So again, how do you clean it up?
I think you just stress things. So like for us offensively, it's going to be false start, and just you're going to have to go back to old school. When you jump off sides or you have a false start. I started doing it with the defense because we were jumping off sides. Is just old school up down and kids.
Run a lap?
Yeah, I mean you're going to have to do things to get their attention. The one thing I told the defensive staff or the defensive kids going into the Roy City game was guys, if you guys jump off sides, I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to bring everybody over. I'm going to up down everybody.
Okay.
So I just think little things like that because
I could call play-by-play for your up down. Yeah.
But that's how I learned as a kid, and I think those things tend to get the message across. Now, there's some things you cannot teach and you can't clean up per se. Like, there's other interpretations of what a late hit is and things like that. But there is things like holding. You can clean that, especially on the outside. You can clean that up, and that's what the bye week is for. You go back to those small fundamentals because when you're in fall camp, you're just pushing as much as you can and trying to get all schemes in and stuff like that. So sometimes you tend to overlook those small details. So like I said, that's pretty much what one piece of the bye week is for, is cleaning up those small mistakes.
Coaches talk about effort penalties versus mental
Right.
penalties. What's the difference?
A mental penalty is jumping off sides, a false start. We have, and I said this the other day, I said I could write a book on how many times I've been coaching and we have a freeze play where the play is not move and someone jumps off sides, or someone false starts. You're just like, guys. And then there's been on the other side, you're like, it's 3rd and 4. Everybody in America knows they're fixing to hard count you, and we jump off sides. So that is a mental mistake that turns into a penalty. More of a what'd you call it again? Effort penalty is, someone's running and hits a kid by the sideline, and they call a late hit, or I've had a kid hit a kid so hard one time they threw a flag and called it unsportsmanlike for hitting him too hard.
Okay.
So there's things like that. You can't control those things. And just like Caleb Otluski the other night, you can't control that. He's trying to make a play. He's not trying to grab. He's just trying to make a tackle. And those things like that is more of an effort penalty that, you just kind of have to shrug your shoulders and be like, okay, move on. It's the mental ones that you get upset about,
You've already mentioned it, but describe the value of a bye week. Mm-hmm. Let me just go ahead and remind the audience, everybody in the district has a bye week this week. So It's unusual when you have an odd number district, somebody gets left out every week. But in this case, you have an even number.
Right.
Everybody's off this week, so there's no, we got an earlier or later bye. Everybody's off the same. Goals, value, negatives of a bye week.
So the good of a bye week is going to be not just physical health, but mental health, because everybody's been in this grind. And it's good, I believe, for kids and coaches to take a step back. And you're right in the middle of the year, and you tend to, consumed by this, and it's time to. It's a good thing to go back and kind of self-care, and not just that, but reconnect with your family, reconnect with your parents and your siblings and things like that. And it's a time just to break. So when we played, we never had a bye week. You played, and it didn't matter if it was 16 games or 10 games. You went from fall camp all the way through. Sorry for your luck. So I think it's something that,
because now there's 11 weeks to play 10 games in the regular season, just so you understand. Yeah.
And I think it's really good what the UIL did to give kids and coaches, but to give kids, because they're kids, and kids, this doesn't need to be a job. They need to take the opportunity to take a step back and whatnot. But the way that we use the bye week is going to be self-care. And then B, it's going to be a real huge recruiting time for the coaching staff. So we've already gotten, some of our kids have already done their midseason highlights, and we have already started pushing those out. The goal is by Friday at 4 p.m. to have everyone's midseason highlights done and pushed out.
Those two guys sitting over there?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
that's a big deal for the coaching staff. Now, for us, like you said, everyone's on a bye. I've never done that in 20 years of coaching.
Yeah.
I've never had that. Usually everyone else is playing when you're on the bye week.
So you go scout them.
So you go scout them.
Right.
This week, you don't scout anybody. You know, you can go and say, well, I'm going to scout a playoff opponent. The first round playoffs is an East Texas team, and you don't really know. It's besides Texas High and potentially Marshall, you don't really know who's going to be there, so you don't really know who to go scout. And then you're like, well, do you scout sock? And you're like, well, that could be, a month and a half, 2 months away. Do you do that? So it's a weird situation. You just don't know what you're going to do with it. But the biggest thing is we have a short week next week. We play Poteet on a Thursday.
Thursday night next week.
So we're going to use it as more prep time for Poteet than what we've normally
He's having
had.
a rough go.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right. But we normally, this is a different week. Normally, it's all about self-care and getting back to the fundamentals, allowing the kids to be kids. This week's a little bit different. We're still going to do all those things. We're going to shorten practice down to an hour. We're going to get back to the fundamental part of it, but we're going to work more Poteet than we've ever worked an opponent before. Normally, we won't, start on an opponent until maybe that Thursday, but we're going to start on that opponent tomorrow. So we'll get a good run hole, pass hole.
This is not the time to get a little Lovejoy work in or somebody like that later on?
But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but what we do.
Playoff opponent, you don't ever know.
Right.
But they're your district.
Right.
There's no debate you're playing
Right.
them, and they're pretty good.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I'm not going to sit here and not say that we don't have plays for our defensive team tomorrow that's going to have some Princeton in it, that's going to have some Denison in it, that's going to have some Lovejoy in it, and definitely, probably 80% is Poteet, but you're going to have those plays that, because the one thing about 5A football that's different from 4A and 3A and whatnot, 5A football has more spread teams, where the 4As have just a sprinkle a little bit more of the slot T, wing T stuff. So, make a long story short, everyone's running power. Everyone's going to run tight zone. Everyone's going to run mid zone. So it doesn't really matter when you're running those things, because everyone's running it. So that makes it a little bit easier on the defensive staff. And it's just the same thing offensively. Everyone's running an over and under or a tight or whatever the case may be, quarters. So our offensive staff, it can be a little bit easier. Where you go down levels, it gets a little bit more difficult, because sometimes those schools, it's a flavor of the week that what you're seeing. So that's the one piece for us going into it. And I'm a planner, and I've got to schedule things, and I got to make sure that I feel good about it, and I'm probably a little too anal about certain things and whatnot. But like in the coaches meeting today, hey, we're not taking Poteet lightly. I don't care. We had talked about with our kids about the process, and the process is we don't care about the scoreboard. We don't care about anything except our best effort every single play. So I expect the same thing from the coaching staff. It's your best effort every single thing that you do within the program. And right now, we've got to focus on Mesquite Poteet and going 3-0 in district play.
This is the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. You're going to get to meet our offensive and defensive players of the game in just a moment. But one more question, Coach Nally. We talk football a lot because this is a football show, but these kids are students.
Right.
Supposed to be taking algebra and geometry and algebra 2 and world history and American history and English and chemistry and all that stuff. Talk about how you keep them focused on the classroom and when a little bit of extra encouragement is needed in the classroom.
So, first off, we live in Melissa, so we don't have a ton of grade issues. Do we have some? Sure, but we don't have a lot of kids that are dealing with grade problems. Most of our kids take care of their business in the classroom and get after it. What we do in Melissa is I assign a guy that is, we call him the academic czar. It's Coach Pennington. He's the academic czar. And Miss Hollenbeck every week sends me the grades of all the kids in football. So I take that and I email it to the academic czar, which is Coach Pennington. Coach Pennington then emails all that to each position coach. So let's just say you're a quarterback, so it would go to Coach Pickup. So Coach Pickup would see all your grades. So, and let's just say
What
that
if you're multiple positions?
Well, once again, this sounds bad, but it's the truth. I'd send it to the coach that I feel like is going to
be the best motivator.
Yes, be the best motivator. There you go. That's the perfect term.
Okay.
So, and he sees all your grades, and then let's just say you're struggling in history. He will set up a time for you to meet with that history teacher to, just tutoring or whatever the case may be. And then we do some extracurriculars to help those kids, learn. Because at the end of the day, you went to high school, I went to high school. High school is not that difficult. All you got to do is apply yourself. And a lot of these kids, they don't apply themselves. And that's the struggle, is just getting them to apply themselves. Like I said, in Melissa, we don't really have that issue. Kids take academics and learning and education pretty seriously. But every once in a while, you'll have that one kid that needs a little extra motivation. So,
similarly, what if it's what you guys in the education world call behavior problems?
Yeah.
I've never had one, I know, but theoretically speaking, somebody's talking back in class, they don't show up for class, etc. What's the motivation strategy there?
So I have two coaches that handle that. So I call them step
the
one.
bad cops?
Well, I call one the step one terminator, and then I call the next one the step two terminator. So step one terminator is Coach Russell. So if a kid has an issue, and I hate to be just the truth, it's more your younger group. So your freshmen, your sophomores. Every once in a while, you'll get a junior, and never really a senior. But that's the step one. So the first time a teacher hits me up, I have a conversation with the kid, and then I hand that kid over to Coach Russell, and Coach Russell then does some extracurriculars, some motivating. The next time I hear from a teacher, I give that student to Coach Hemsley, and Coach Hemsley's really good at it, really good at it. So
you don't want to go see Coach Hemsley?
No, sir, you do not want to see Coach Hemsley. So he's really good at his job. And then the third time, I take it to the Cardinal Council, and which is my leadership team. So it's
players,
11 players, and those 11 guys, the kid has to speak in front of the Cardinal Council and discuss it and whatnot. And since I've been the head coach, I've only had one kid have to go to that process, and then they decide what's going to happen to that kid. So does he need extra conditioning, or is this enough? You've crossed the line, and whatnot. So I try to put it in their hands. So you're just not ready for the world in situations like that. So I think it's good for kids to have to hear other people's situations and then potentially make a decision as a group what's best for everyone, not what's just best for one person. So, I mean, and most of the time, when I said most of the time, it's only happened once here, they were like, hey, that kid needs to be a part of us, so we need to do everything we possibly can to help that kid out. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
In a moment, you're going to get to meet our offensive player of the game, Lincoln Dunn, our defensive player of the game, Nigel Smith. Give you a chance to brag on those guys.
Well, Lincoln coming in, I knew that he was extremely fast. Obviously he's on the track team and whatnot. I didn't know how good of hands he had. And then not just that, he has a little bit of a swag about him that you don't really see until he's on a Friday night getting after it. And so strong. His lower half is so strong. I mean, he broke that tackle and kept his feet and went. So, but the thing about Lincoln is, and I know I say this every week, but it's the truth, and I'm about to say it about Nigel because it's the truth, but Lincoln Dunn's been raised right. Lincoln Dunn is a good person. Lincoln Dunn will go and be an extremely successful person, and you can see those traits on a Friday night just because you see the way he interacts with the other receivers. You see the way he interacts with the quarterback and his other teammates. But not just that, if you got an opportunity to watch him in practice, every single rep is his best rep. And then Nigel, the thing about Nigel that I'm more proud of any kid that we've had is Nigel's been on the varsity as a freshman, since he's a freshman, and now he's a junior. But Nigel has grown, and he is the leader of our team. And that's from a little bitty freshman, that we were like, man.
Not so little.
Yeah, not so little.
Yeah.
From a little bitty freshman, you've seen him grow into this great person. And not just that, a great leader. Like, he's going to be wherever he decides to go to college, they're going to get an unbelievable leader, not just a great player. And then when he's out in the real world, once again, I mean, he's just a really good person, and he's going to find success because of his work ethic. He's going to find success because of the way he interacts with people, and not just the way that he holds himself accountable, and he wants to be the best version of himself, but he wants others around him to be their best too. He strives for other people's success. So, I mean, that's the thing about Nigel that's I'm the most proud of. But once again, he's been raised right. He's got some really good parents, and once again, if you see him interact with, I mean, you can literally say, Nigel, you got the defensive line. You got him. You coach him. We're going to be. He would do a really good job, you know. So, yeah. But those two young men are great picks by you and Coach Deal, and yeah, they're really, really good players. But they are awesome people.
And Lincoln Dunn being here tonight does prove the previously unknown fact that you can throw for 400 yards and 8 touchdowns and not be the offensive player of the game.
Right.
First time in history.
You know what's crazy is we were sitting there over the weekend talking about who's the offensive player of the week. And, you know, you have those debates. You know, hey, you know, Trevor threw for 8 touchdowns. That's awesome, guys. Homeboy had, you know.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, yes, sir.
In just a moment, you'll get to meet Lincoln Dunn and Nigel Smith. This is Trey Graham along with Matt Nally. You're watching the Cardinals Scoreboard Show. We broadcast every Monday night from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. And I do get to invite you to our church home on Sunday mornings at First Melissa. Go to firstmelissa.com to find out more. Join us in person or online. Go to firstmelissa.com, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Melissa Cardinals Network. You now get to meet our offensive player of the game from the victory over the Terrell Tigers, Lincoln Dunn, wide receiver number 10. Congratulations on being the player of the game.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You had a great game, according to our stat man, 4 receptions, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so talk about the big win over Terrell.
It was awesome. We played well as a team, especially offensively. We were able to throw the ball all game. It was good.
And Trevor Ham makes you look pretty good.
Yeah, Trevor Ham played amazing. All the receivers played amazing. We played well.
We're going to show a highlight in a moment, but one little screen route go 95 yards.
Yeah, it was great blocking by Carson Maynard and a good ball. I just had to run, so it was good.
And showed a little speed.
Yeah, a little bit.
Part of that speed, we talk about it, is you were on the state championship 4x100 track team.
Yes, sir. That was an experience for sure. Me, Clark Packard, Jacob Fields, and Nate Adejokin.
A lot of fun?
It was amazing.
And are you a track guy or a football guy?
I'm a football guy that likes to run track.
Okay.
So.
First year in Melissa.
Yes, sir.
Moved from?
I moved from Prosper, Texas, and Southern California before that.
Okay. And why Melissa?
My friend Jackson Ford, who I knew in California, moved here, so we wanted to meet up. So I came and met the coaches, saw the facilities, and knew I had to come. So.
All right. And what you're a junior, right?
I'm a junior. Yes,
okay.
sir.
What's your plan for after high school?
Hopefully go play college ball. I haven't thought about it too much, to be honest.
Okay. And have you seen some of your friends, like this guy we'll meet in a minute? Have you seen the recruiting process?
Yes, I have. I'm waiting for that a little bit, but I'm excited. So.
Okay. What's your favorite class in school?
My favorite class would probably be history. It's easier, normally taught by a coach. So.
Okay. What kind of history class are you taking?
I'm in U.S. history right now.
All right. And besides history, what else do you like?
I like math if I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
So.
And do you know what you're doing right now?
I do right now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Talk about Coach Russell, the offensive coordinator.
I love Coach Russell. He gets on us a little bit sometimes, but he's just trying to make us better. So.
And your first year playing for Matt Nally.
Yes, I love him now. He's amazing. He's the best coach I've ever had.
Okay. Why?
He makes it feel like a family. We're all together all the time, and it's just a great environment to be in.
All right, I'm going to let you talk about that other guy that we'll meet in a second, that big guy over there, Nigel. He's pretty good.
He's all right. I think I'd be a better D end if I'm being honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he's just big, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And your goal for the season, the rest of the way?
Win a state championship. That's a team goal. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on being our offensive player of the game.
Thank you.
Wide receiver Lincoln Dunn, number 10. We'll come back and talk with Nigel Smith right after this.
First and 10 from their own 5. Man in motion is Javon Smith, who sets up next to Trevor Ham. Snap is back quickly out to the right side on the screen, and it's going to get a block downfield, showing some great speed and staying in bounds at the 50, at the 40, at the 30, at the 20, 10, 5. Touchdown Cardinals, 95 yards. Looks like no flags.
Lincoln Dunn.
Lincoln Dunn, the speedster, takes it to the house. One play, 95 yards.
We've been saying, Trey, that he's just been a step away or just one small little block to taking one to the house like that. And to talk about helping your quarterback stats there.
Yeah, when you throw the football 1 yard and you get a 95-yard completion out of it.
Yes, sir.
After the swinging gate play, Pintor will come in to kick. Carson Maynard on the hold. Two receivers right. And now Maynard goes in motion. Snap is back. Ham fakes the handoff. Has time. Throws a deep post route for Dunn. Goes up for the grab. It's a fight for the football. And Ty goes to the offense. First down Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We join you every Monday night at the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. You get to meet our offensive and defensive players of the game. For the victory over Terrell, you've already met Lincoln Dunn, wide receiver. Now you get to meet defensive end Nigel Smith. Nigel, you're pretty much a veteran at this.
Yes, sir. I've been
Congratulations again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Before we talk about the Terrell game, you might have heard your buddy Lincoln over there say he would be a better defensive end than you.
I got to disagree with that one.
Okay.
I got to disagree.
But is he faster than you?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, okay.
Just a little
All right,
bit.
because you weren't on the 4x100 state team?
Nah.
Okay. Talk about the win over Terrell.
It was a pretty good team win. We definitely needed a blowout like that. Defense didn't play up to the standards we should have. Let up a couple big runs that we shouldn't have, and just simple mistakes that will get fixed and go into this bye week and this next week against Poteet ready.
2 fullback dives go over 80 yards. Don't see that very much.
Not at all.
What happened?
It was a little miscommunication. They usually want to hit in that A or B gap, but he cut it into the opposite A gap, and just our linebacker and safety missed him. And just they're pretty fast. They're pretty fast guys. So after they missed him, there was no catching them.
Statman says 6 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks in the ball game. Sound about right?
Just about. Yes,
Okay.
Sir.
And talk about Coach Hemsley, the defensive coordinator.
He's a great guy. He knows what he's talking about, and with this new defense, trying to kind of make it our own as much as we can, and he's definitely helped with that.
Senior now. You've been on varsity team since freshman year. Junior this year. Okay, sorry. Junior this year, but still your 3rd year on the varsity, but you're expected to be the leader now. You're the upperclassman.
Yes, sir.
So what's the difference?
There really is no difference. I had to take a little bit of a bigger role leading, stepping up, and kind of being more vocal as a leader instead of just always leading by example. And I mean, that's the only difference I could think of. We're still a team. We're still all kind of together in everything. So, yeah.
And talk about the recruiting process.
It's been fun. Recruitment opened up to where coaches can text me, and my phone's been blowing up. But I mean, it's just nothing but fun. I've been going to colleges, traveling across the country, seeing everything, and it's not something many kids get to have. So I really enjoy myself. I take every day just thanking God and realizing that it's not something to be one of the top recruits, and a lot of kids would give up a lot just to be that.
Where have you visited?
I've been to Bama. I've been to A&M a couple times. I've been to UT a couple times. I've been to OU a couple times. I've been to Ohio State a couple times. I've been to Miami. I've been to TCU. I've been to Rutgers a couple times. I've been to Pitt. I've been to I know I'm forgetting a couple, but it's a couple more that I just can't off the top of my head.
Are you ready to make a big announcement here on the Cardinals Scoreboard show?
Not yet.
But when you are, you'll come back here.
Might have to.
Okay. Talk about your school. What do you like to do in school or study?
Right now I'm liking kinesiology just like last year, one of my favorite classes. I'm in Kines 2, so just learning a lot more on how to kind of get into that in college. And also probably just dual credit history. I like my professor. He's a great teacher, and I've just been enjoying my time in there.
Good. Talk about Coach Nally.
Great coach. I mean, I've had him for the past 3 years. A lot better than the last squad I was at. Got a lot of friends still there, and I just see a lot of differences in how he's coaching, and he's always open to change. These past 3 years in practice and everything, the way we've done stuff has changed, and it's been a lot of suggestions from players or coaches, and he's always been open to that and changing for the better. So that's one thing I really respect from him. Any complaints, he takes that into accountability and just changes it for what needs to be changed if he thinks it's for the better of the team.
Good. Well, congratulations on being the defensive player of the game.
Thank you.
Defensive end Nigel Smith, defensive player of the game for the victory over Terrell. We'll come back and talk more with Matt Nally right after this.
There's also an interesting football game I'll mention in just a second. 3rd down and 2. Henderson's going to hand the ball off, and they're going to lose yardage.
Welcome, Nigel Smith.
Hello, Nigel Smith, big number 2. Maynard, Smith, Dunn, and Casano all have 2 catches each. Rolling left and running into the Cardinals pass rush again is Henderson, and Nigel Smith says hello and tackles him back at the 28-yard line. 4th and 20. Here comes the punt game for the Tigers.
Yeah, just as Henderson was getting his foot plant on his 3-step drop, there was Nigel there to meet him. No time for Henderson at all.
Welcome back to the Dugout Sports Grill. We broadcast every Monday night here at the Z-Plex on the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham, joined again by 4th-year head football coach of the Melissa Cardinals, Matt Nally. And, Coach, I'm not sure if you heard it in that last segment with the 2 players, but Lincoln Dunn stated that he would be a better defensive end than Nigel. So I just want you to settle the score. Nigel didn't agree, so it's 1-1 in the voting right now.
Sorry, Lincoln. I don't think you'd win that
Sorry,
one.
Lincoln. Okay.
I don't think you'd win that one.
That's fair. Okay, let's talk about the big win over Terrell, 56-21. Total yards, 594 to 341. We mentioned 11 penalties for 101 yards. We don't want to bring that one up again. We mentioned Trevor Ham, 409 yards, 8 touchdowns. That guy sitting over there, Nigel, with 4 sacks. And, well, I'll just wait. I'll talk about them in a moment. Talk about your first string, because I want to talk about the second string in a minute. You had a great performance all the way around.
You know, and that goes back to those first 2 games, and really the first 3 games, when you're looking at what we're good at and what we're bad at. So, and it's almost like a old school pro and con list. And then you look at, let's just say Nigel, you break down each player. What are they really good at? And you got to make that kid successful. So, and that's what we've done is, and that's who I am. I want to make the kid successful, but you got to put a kid in an adverse situation first to see what they're really good at. So, it's all about putting kids in the right situation. So, going back to the position coaches have done an unbelievable job, and those coordinators have done an unbelievable job putting the game plan together to make those kids successful. And then you simplify it, and you just get out of the way and let them play. But when it comes to those first-string kids, they executed the game plan the way it's supposed to be executed. But Terrell does a good job of adjusting as the game goes. Kind of like we talked last week. The offense is always a step ahead the defense because they're going to adjust and the defense has to adjust, and they're going to adjust and the defense has to adjust. So I thought Coach Hemsley and that defensive staff did a great job of adjusting. They break that long run. Coach Hemsley adjusts, the defensive staff adjust, and they come back and make another adjustment. Yeah, it's a chess match. But they just executed what those coaches asked them to do all week. Now, every once in a while, you have a brain fart, and that happened. But
Like 2 fullback dives go 80 yards.
yeah,
As I said, to quote myself, right, a season's worth of fullback dive yardage right there.
Right.
Yeah.
But it goes back to Terrell. They went out. Well, they never have went out with their guard and tackle. They're usually blocking down and kicking and stuff like that. It was a great adjustment by them how we were playing the belly. So, but yeah, they just executed what we asked them to do, and not just that. I just think them buying into each other. I'm an offensive guy, but I take a lot of pride in the defensive side of the ball just because to win, you got to be good at defense. And I just think our defensive kids, especially, it's an exotic offense nowadays. That's an exotic offense.
1978.
Right. Me and you, that's just what people did, I
was a little after 1978 playing it, but you understand.
But so it takes a little while to kind of understand and get a feel for the game and whatnot. So, but I couldn't be more proud of my offensive line. They did a great job of pass protecting all night long, and obviously Trevor doing a really good job of seeing what he could take. And the thing about playing the quarterback position, which is you have to take what the defense gives you. And sometimes you want to push the ball and you want to do different things, and you just can't do that. Secondaries and defensive coaches are so smart that they can manipulate things and make it look one way, but that's not what it is. Even post-snap, it looks like this, but it's not. So you just got to take what the defense gives you. And then we have an unbelievable receiving core. Even our running backs can catch the football. And then, we just tell them, hey, look, you throw, just like Lincoln, you throw a 5-yard pass, it could turn into a 90-yard touchdown
95,
play.
yeah.
So it's just like, hey, just let them be athletes, and I think that our quarterbacks have done that. So, but yeah, just them executing the game plan and doing what the coaching staff has asked them to do, I think is a huge part of why we're 2-0 in district play.
Big lead allows you to get in a lot of players, and we
Correct.
alluded to this a moment ago. Second teamers, third teamers, younger kids that don't get to play a lot. Talk about the strategy of that. Is it a reward? Is it take it easy on the opponent? Is it I'm training you up for next year, or all the above?
Actually, it is for depth, because as the season goes on, and I hope not, but every year that I've coached, you're going to lose a kid to an injury, and that's an opportunity to build more and more depth. So if we just allowed a kid to play the whole game and we're not getting a kid ready, especially game reps, then we're doing a bad job. So once again, it is all about depth. I don't want a kid's first opportunity on a Friday night under those lights to be a situation where it's big. Right. Allow those kids to get as many reps as possible and grow and develop and get better.
So when do you make the call? Is it when I'm up by X points? Is it once the third quarter is over? When do you make the call?
So what we do is every time we go into halftime, we have a general coaches meeting, and in that coaches meeting, the first thing I'm going to discuss is the score. So if we're up big, I will say everyone gets one more series, and then we're going to go and we're going to grow those other kids. If it's close and you're going to ask me a score, an actual score, it used to be 42 for me. Now it's just more of a feel. Now the offensive guys, they'll say, well, we need to finish the third quarter. The defensive guys will say, well, we need to finish the whole game. And that's just not who I am. Like, defensive guys don't want to give up any points, any yards. Offensive guys just want to score, score, score. So, but for me personally, I mean, I just think building depth is the most important thing. It was 49-7 at halftime. I think at one point in time it was 56-14. I didn't care if it was 56-42. Like, they needed it to get into that opportunity to play. So, or if the end of the score would have been 56-42, I didn't care. I need to develop kids and build depth, because there's going to be a time, and it's going to, and I hope no kid gets hurt, but there's going to be a team out there that's going to have a kid deep in the playoffs, and for me, if it happens to me, I want that kid to be prepped and ready to rock and roll.
Do you sub like the hockey line where everybody comes in at once, or do you piecemeal?
So we have, just talking about offensively, so we have enough kids offensively that we can do that. And they're good. They're still really good.
What that means is like all 5 O-linemen sub at one time.
Right. And they're still really good, and they can move the football all up and down the field. I remember when I was a freshman and a sophomore, and I'm on the varsity, and you're going in, and you're behind an offensive line that is as big as you are, and everyone's split, because that's what normally happens. You're in that situation, defense coordinators just bring the house, and you're just getting the tar ripped out of you. So, but we're good enough that we don't have to do that. Like, we can pick up blitzes and stunts, and we can still move the football and things like that. Defensively, it's a little bit different. We don't have as much depth on our defensive line, and we do not have any depth when it comes to our inside backers. We have 3 kids that pretty much rotate the whole game. So those kids still have to kind of rotate. But still, at the end of the day, you're trying to get that back end out, and you're trying to get your linebackers. But it's just tough. It's just really tough on that defensive side of it. So that's kind of how it works.
It was a big victory for the Cardinals, 56-21 over the Terrell Tigers. It is a bye week this coming week, so take the weekend off. So we're going to wait and talk about Mesquite Poteet till next Monday night. Lastly, we'll let you brag on or complain about, whatever your choice is. Talk about the Cardinal fans, the parents, the community. I know you're very appreciative of the support you get, so have a chance to address them.
So, the coolest thing for me was because Terrell's not an easy drive. It's not easy to get to that stadium and park. And then you look up and you're right on top of each other Friday night. And I remember going to the game going, if I was just a regular fan, I'm probably missing this one. I'm probably catching it on the Melissa Cardinal Network. I'm probably not going to go to this one. And, we're out for pregame, and you kind of start seeing people come in, and it was a packed house, and it just blew my mind. Like, it makes you feel good because you have a community that supports our kids and supports our extracurriculars with our kids. And, just nothing like it. When people ask me about it, I'm just like, you don't understand how much the youth mean in Melissa, Texas. So for me personally, as a dad that has kids in Melissa, it's a big deal for me just because of the fact of people care.
Is it ever too much?
Oh, no. Never.
Asking too many questions, sending too many emails?
No. And that's something that, people, I have coaching buddies that grab and complain about that. I think that when it comes to parents and it comes to situations like, go ahead and ask the question. Now, you might not enjoy the answer, but at the end of the day, everyone's obligated to their opinion. Everyone's obligated to ask a question. I like it.
And since we've talked about it off the air, but let's go ahead and get it on the air. When all those folks in the stands are yelling at you, it's time to punt or it's time to go for it on 4th down, how much sway do they have over your decisions?
0.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, like, on a Friday night, you can't really hear anything. Even at Terrell, I couldn't hear anybody. And it has nothing to do with the headset you have on. A, the sideline is chaotic. But B, you're so in tuned and focused on what's going on. I mean, it didn't matter. A bomb could blow up, and you'd be like, and then you just, right back to it. So, none, 0.
Okay. And lastly, I'm sure you know, but we have people listening and watching our games all over the country, all over the world, every week. Every state you can imagine. California, the whole Lincoln Dunn fan club was
Right.
on there last week, and Illinois, Kansas, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, they're all over the place.
Right.
It's pretty unusual and pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. So normally what we do, and I started doing this when I was an OC, so I would listen to the game. You guys would put it on social media, and I would go back, and, as you're self-scouting, you'd listen to it as well. Well, now you've got it where you can see it and you can hear it.
It's called television.
Yeah,
Matt.
television. Yeah.
Okay.
But the cool thing about it is the I think it's Game On.
Game On, yeah.
They do such a great job of getting a bunch of angles, and
Yeah.
those kids do a great job of doing all those things. And then you and Coach Deal do such a good job of putting you in the game. So we actually, as a coaching staff, we watch Huddle, and we have 3 angles and whatnot, but we're going to watch that too, because there's different things that you can pick up that you can't get from that Huddle tape.
Right.
So, and I don't blame those people from California and whatnot. If I had an opportunity to watch a game, if I had somebody in another state and I could watch their game and it looked like that, I would want to watch it.
We do say thank you to the great folks from Game On. They've really been a great
sir.
partner this year.
Yes, sir.
You've been watching the Cardinal Scoreboard show every Monday night at the Dugout Sports Grill. Thanks to Nigel Smith and Lincoln Dunn for joining us. Congratulations to them for being our players of the game. We do have a bye week this week, so enjoy the weekend off. Make sure you cheer on the Black Knights this Saturday, of course. And we do invite you one more time to come see us at First Melissa on Sunday morning. For Coach Matt Nally, this is Trey Graham saying good night from the dugout.